I was sitting all alone in my library chair when I found a book and it gave me a scare. The pages I kept turning, it quite took me in. What was it? Oh, where do I begin? We read the monsters. I read the monsters next door. The monsters. It had short stories galore. The monsters. It's full of horror and gore. The monsters. I read the monsters next door.
Once upon a modern time, in a little cul-de-sac, black characters from myth and rhyme decided to come back. They moved into a cuter house, they bought a boat and car. They got a job, they got a spouse, they're ready to go far. This modern life, with all its strife, is wilder than before. You won't forget the day you met the fables next door. You won't forget the day you met the fables next door.
At a cursed crossroads where souls collide, see the Prince of Darkness, see the Prince of Lies, while the world lies sleeping and the moon's aglow. They may meet with the devil, you know. When your heart is quaking and your soul can't rest, open up the pages of the devil you know best. People face their demons as each tale unfolds, but the devil's in the details, and their fate's been sold. Hear their fate's been sold, and they're lost to hell. That's the deal you have to make with the devil you know well. There's a shop on the corner with a sign that glows. Step inside if you dare, where the oddness flows. Ancient whispers echo through the dusty air. Shelves of fallen deities, all beyond repair. Gods and services, musical merchandise. Gods and services, wanna roll the dice. Zeus is in the bargain bin, thunder on the cheap. Hades sells for half off while his minions creep. Aphrodite's beauty faded over time. Now she runs the counter in this celestial five and dime. Gods and services, mystical merchandise. Gods and services, wanna roll the dice. Gods and services, justice in the bargain bin, thunder on the cheap. Hades sells for half off while his minions creep. Aphrodite's beauty faded over time. Now she runs the counter in this celestial five and dime. Gods and services, mythical merchandise. Gods and services, wanna roll the dice. Gods and services, wanna roll the dice.
Get the latest fantasy horror anthology, Gods and Services New Location, from Critical Blast Publishing. Available at criticalblast.com or wherever books are sold.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Damn Show on the Critical Blast podcast. I'm your host, Damascus Mincemeyer. Our regular host, RJ Carter, is off experimenting with extraterrestrial aircraft deep in the Nevada desert around Area 51 tonight. Don't worry, though. He'll be back tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'll be interviewing authors Bo Chappell and A.A. Medina, whose horror Western novel, Devil Dancers, dropped a few weeks ago. Hi, guys. It's nice to have you as a guest tonight.
Hello. How do we follow that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't have a guest number.
I know. Well, I did, but it's not going to top that.
I've talked to Bo a few times on the Old Dead Man's Tone podcast, and I always like this. I always like to start my shows the same way our friend Jesse Deadman did, with this question, which is, who are you, what do you do, and why do you do it? Let's start with Medina.
Yeah.
I'm A. Medina. You call me Adrian or Medina, either one. I am an author, obviously, graphic designer, artist, ex-musician. I think I follow this path because if I didn't, I lose my mind like most creatives. You know, just gotta. It's rewarding sometimes, but you know, it's better to do it than not do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I do it. Also, not a big talker, so Bo's gonna have to break me out of my shell a little bit.
Look at me, man.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you're on.
I'm the guy with the questions, so that's cool.
Okay.
I've got
I can answer.
I've got a way of prying the answers out of people.
Okay.
How about you, Bo?
There's a question. I'm Bo Chappell. I'm artist, writer out of South Carolina. Same thing with Adrian. We got to get stories out of our head, and we were talking the other day. It's like we actually really want to just make movies, but this is the easiest way to get stories out. And we just get so excited and we want to get them out there. So we write books.
Yeah, I definitely understand I definitely understand that. Almost like possessed by the urge to create. Like I'm that way too. Like when people ask, "Why do you do it?" It's like I don't have a choice. That's assuming that we have a choice. We don't. It's just
exactly. The whole, like,
the ideas come and we got to get them out.
You can't retire from it either. You know what I mean? So it's like,
oh yeah.
Now, there's like a lot of people.
I don't know the same thing. So
there's a lot of authors you clock like that just want to keep doing things. I know like Leo X. Robertson. He's really Danger Slater. There are people that just like they have to be doing what they're doing because they got like such passion for this, like the stories that they want to tell, and they're uniquely theirs. So they just keep steamrolling ahead, and they just whatever they want to do, they do it. I love it.
Yeah. Adrian, you mentioned you were a one-time musician. You were in Aphotic Realm, I believe, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I co-ran it. I co-ran it with Chris Martin and Yoke.
Okay, because I remember a few years ago, I had one of my stories. It was a punk story called "Getting to the Gig" that was published in your gruesome '80s issue. And I remember in the acceptance letter, in the acceptance email, you said it tugged on your punk kid heartstrings. And
It did, yeah.
I remember I assumed that you were at one point. I assumed you were in a band or in the punk scene at some point because
Yeah,
you knew
I was in
you were familiar with it.
I was in a, street punk band. I was in a crust punk band. I was in like a blackened thrash metal band, avant-garde stuff. I was in a folk metal band that, sung
Oh,
songs
cool.
about Vikings and stuff. So until about 2014, I was in bands and, actively playing shows and touring like West Coast areas because I live in Phoenix. So, drive to LA or do a little mini tour up to Portland, Oregon, and Seattle and stuff like that. And it's just a lot of time in a van with a lot of stinky men,
Go on.
So that story tugged. I don't want to live that life anymore, so I stopped. I'm more of a homebody. I always have been, but I got too old for doing that, live shows and stuff like that. So, but when I read your story, I remember it was so long ago, but there's something about they're trying to get away from something in a van, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
It's these three punks. It's like 1982. They're in like the
yeah,
Hollywood scene, and they got a gig down in Orange County. And the one guy's like totally wasted. And it turns out later it's because his mother has cancer, and he's trying to self
yes,
medicate. But they end up going to like a McDonald's, and there's these because it's the 80s. I had the idea that I wanted to do a zombie story, but it was preppy zombies. They were like these yuppie zombies.
yes.
And
It was the Reagan boys.
yes, that's right.
Okay, now
And
now it all comes together. Now I remember.
that's
And
right.
they're making them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember my favorite part is when you printed it in the magazine. You had there was the picture of Reagan, who was like half his face was a zombie, and I just
Yeah.
love that. That just fits so perfect for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Dana's got a good eye for the whole editing, coming up with imagery for the. He's good at it. I mean, it should go without saying because he did the cover for a book. It was just when he showed me like that initial mock-up, I was like, "Yes, you got it. That's it."
Well, my
Yeah.
design career and art career started with making punk rock logos and flyers for local shows and stuff like that. So
I did that when I was in high school. I did that for here in St. Louis. I did that for some local like punk and metal bands when I was like 17, 18 years old. I got tapped because I was known as like the art kid around my school because I did comics and stuff. So it was just a natural. They were like, "Hey, can you do this flyer for me? Can you do a logo for us?" That kind of thing.
Yep.
So
yeah,
tell
man,
us
your
about
comic artwork. Can we? I want to. No, I just want to go on that. Yeah, I love your comic artwork. I always.
Thank
You had a bunch of that stuff in Aquatic Realm too, right?
Maybe I think so. But I remember because I did the. I don't think I had any in Aquatic Realm. I had some in. I did all the Dead Man's Tome covers for a while. I had some in Heavy Metal Magazine.
Yeah, you did. Oh yeah, you did. You did Monsters versus Not. Yeah, you did that like Kirby
Yeah.
tribute. Like
Yes.
Yeah. That cover's great too.
I did like let me see. I did Bikers versus the Undead, Psycho Holiday, Monsters versus Nazis, Satan is Your Friend.
Yeah.
One more. There was Monster Party, Wolf Winter, and Hollywood Holocaust.
You did a lot of
That
work
was the
for
last.
him.
Yes, I did, and I enjoyed all of it. It was all over the top, crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
But tell us
It's
about.
fun.
Let's talk about Devil Dancers. Like tell the audience, tell us what it's about and how you two came up with the idea.
Oh, yeah, I know you don't. You know the talker thing, but I'll introduce it. But this is really you, because he just because we've been we worked together on Aquatic Realm. We've been buddies for a long time now.
Yeah.
And he just pitched the idea. He's like, "What do you think about what do you think about writing a book with me?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah. We have very similar writing processes or thought processes." So I was like, "Sure." And then we started throwing around ideas because you were really wanting to focus on something in the Arizona area.
Yeah.
And doing westerns, which of course we, how many horror westerns ever written? So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I remember we had like a couple crazy concepts, and then they started getting away from us.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, I
A little
remember
bit.
the one that was like Guyver. I wanted to do like a Guyver desert thing, and the
Yeah.
ancient Guyver thing, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's getting away from us. We gotta put that down. But
There was
then
some like
you pitched this.
yeah, there were some like huge '90s anime style ideas where we're like, okay, we got to calm this down,
Yeah, it's getting
like
too crazy.
Akira and stuff, and we're like, okay, this is a horror western in like the late 1800s. We got to like tone it down. I was like, my mind can't even comprehend that. But like, the main thing is I, my grandma watched westerns, and I was never too keen on it, right? I watched Western growing up because my grandma and stuff, but I never went out and did it. The one whole thing was like, I really wanted to do, because our three main characters, I didn't want to do your stereotypical, white man outlaw, bang, bang, shoot 'em up. So it was like, one thing I want is I want our three protagonists we follow. Obviously, a woman. We have a Mexican outlaw, and then we have a Native American that's been the assimilation era happened in the West around this time. It just ended by the time our book, and living in Phoenix, we still have roads called like Indian School and stuff. So it's still a big thing here. And I kind of wanted to explore that, not only because I think it'd be unique, but also it kind of forced us to research a lot of it.
Yeah,
It was
Right.
like a reason to do it. And I learned a lot about my home city and my own state just over the years writing this book. So
yeah.
That's
That
one
was
thing I
that was
liked
the
of-
fun stuff. It was discovering. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. It
No,
was
no, it's okay.
the looking up once we started settling on like, okay, it's got to be this region, so we know the Apache. And then once we started like doing our research together, this thing started kind of like writing itself in a weird way. We was like,
and I went to
oh, like
Apache
that.
Elementary, so yeah.
That was what I liked
Yeah,
about it, was the realism and the depth of research. I could tell, like it was it felt more like the real Wild West than like just like the fake movie Wild West kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we wanted to toe that line of like it being still fun and have those like those what's it called? What am I the tropes, of a Western. But we kind of didn't want it to become like a spaghetti Western.
yeah. It's
Right.
like we wanted to kind of straddle it because we didn't want to do the old, Roy Rogers clean westerns either because it's us. We
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, once we started, and also just to be respectful of the history and everything, we didn't want to just go with these tropes and then just cowboys and Indians shooting each other and stuff. That's like, no, we don't want to do that. Let's try to be authentic and then let the weird stuff happen.
Yeah, I say that we leaned more towards making it historical fiction rather than we did a Western. It just
Yeah.
happened to be the history of the Wild West, so.
Yeah, I like that though. That's what I liked about it. I love historical fiction, and so that really hit with me. And as you said, it is more realistic because there were like most cowboys historically were African American or Mexican rather than what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it did kind of like it fit. I mean, it all worked.
Yeah.
So what specific books or films? I mean, we're talking about westerns. Like, what specific books or films had a influence on this?
Oh boy.
Like outside of the research.
Oh man. I know for me it was I grew up watching westerns with my dad and stuff, and so but I'm like Medina, when I was younger, I didn't quite care for westerns until I started seeing the ones that were more gritty. The ones that's not like this super clean outfits and people shooting and then the dude falls out the window. Those are fun. The theme park westerns. But so yeah, I know, but yeah, spaghetti westerns. But we didn't want to go into that. But also just like I really liked westerns, horror westerns. That's not like a exposed genre anyway. So I know vibe wise, I was actually kind of channeling Tremors. That was like a big one.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I really like because it's a survival horror in the desert and it's a western, and I think that's like one of those weirdly perfect movies. It's like such a weird idea, but it works.
And I can kind of see that because there's the mine and like the underground. Yeah, I can see that.
We had
That's
fun.
cool,
What about
though.
you? What about you, Medina?
Like I said, westerns weren't a huge thing. I went more the historical route. I'm born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's just kind of the culture here. Everything's, Wild West and, Apache, Hopi, Navajo cultures. You can't go anywhere without seeing it, or you just adherently know about it growing up here. But if we're going to talk about movies that have no relevance to my vibe, I was going like a very much Alien.
Yeah,
But
that did
instead
come
of-
up a lot. We did, yeah.
Instead of Nostromo, it was the town of guidance, basically, in a way. And Julianne was our Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I liked her a lot as a character. She was very forthright and headstrong, and she was not like a. I liked it how she wanted some excitement in her life, and then be careful what you wish for. She got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, I didn't want this kind of excitement in my life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All of it in one night.
I think she was
I caught
also
an
kind of subconsciously, Bo and I kind of played her like a protagonist from like an old video game that always starts off like, I want adventure, and then by the end of it you're killing God.
Yeah.
By the end
Yeah.
of the video game.
We got some Silent Hill stuff going on, so
Yeah, so
I picked up some Evil Dead influence with like
yes.
like
Can we tell you
possession
how
of the
much
town.
when we read that review that we was like, oh, that's perfect. We should have thought of that.
oh duh. Oh
Yeah.
duh. Yeah.
It's
That was the
clear. It's
perfect analogy.
Tombstone,
So,
Evil Dead, and it's like, yes, it
Yeah.
is.
That would be like the Hollywood pitch right there, because that was my
That's the
first thought.
elevator pitch.
Especially the scene of the townsfolk are possessed, and we get what's his name, Canar, I guess, the guy with the top hat, and his
Yeah,
head
Canar.
becomes detached. For people who haven't read the book, this is some very, very vivid imagery. His head becomes detached, his hands come off, they like fuse themselves to his head, and he starts flying around and biting people. Okay,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, this is like Evil Dead 2, and this is so cool. It's like.
I'm so thankful to have Medina as a partner, because sometimes I pitch weird stuff. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to go for this, because it might be too much for what we're doing. Because it
but
didn't
that
come out of
also
left
is
field.
that also is a creature from the local folklore as well, though. So
Yeah, because we were trying to fit in stuff, and we were like, how far can we go with it without it being too? But he was like, yeah, go for it.
yeah. That whole scene was Bo right there. He really wanted to have the head come off, and I was like, go for it. We need that.
I just like, I don't know. I just see it in my head. This is what he does.
What is like what was your working arrangement with this? Like, who did you write like a chapter and go back and forth? Did you like each write part of a chapter? How did you work this out as a team?
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. We basically were like, okay, so this is where we kind of pick like a checkpoint where we wanted to get in the story. We knew the basic, the basic plot points, and be like, okay, well, I'll write this chapter, you write the next one, and then I write the next one, or you write the next two, I'll write the next two, however it was. But as soon as we were done, we'd switch, punch each other's chapters up. Then we'd sit down and have a meeting and make sure there was no like inconsistencies. And then going, okay, because we kind of did like a stream of consciousness writing as well. So it's like we'd had this planned, but if I had a really cool idea for a scene or Bo did, we just kind of went with it, and it might have changed what our plot, where it went.
Oh yeah.
And then we'd have to sit down and be like, okay, so if we're gonna keep this and do this, then I'm gonna do this. And we basically did that like 3-4 chunks chapters at a time. And then just switch it, punch it up, switch it, punch it up, make sure there's no inconsistencies. And yeah, we basically did that the whole way through.
It was just so easy to be able to have that with where you could easily just communicate with somebody through movies and stuff. It's like, oh, we got this. Can we make it a little more? Like, for example, like, can we make it a little more alien? Like this scene from this, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, we can do that. I get what you're saying. It's the vibe of this.
Point. That's the cool part when you find someone's got the same reference points as you, and it's almost like telepathy. You can just be like, hey, you know what? Let's put in a little bit of Alien. I'm like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
And then like the
How-
the once we got in our groove, it became really easy because like for example, we knew it had to happen. I'd write a chapter that was bare bones, not a lot of descriptor. You know what I mean? It was this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Bo can go in and it happens vice versa, and he can go in and punch it all up. Like he can make it pretty. You know, I got the slop out there and he made a meal out of it. Vice versa. He'd be like, you know, Julian has to do this chapter. I would write maybe 1,000 words and it'd end at like just over 2,000 because, you know, Bo decided they needed a little more dialogue or, you know, let's go and describe this a little bit more, yada, yada. So, yeah. It was
I like
fun.
how
We got
Julian. I like the
I think it's
dialogue
vice
and
versa,
like the.
too.
I like the dialogue, especially between Julian and Hector towards the end when they're like going back and forth, like they're having zingers. Zingers are going back and forth between them. They got like a witty repartee going on. So that was kind
That's
of
all
funny.
Bo. Bo is any masterful or good dialogue you see, Bo's really good at that. He'll make it sound
You're such a
natural and
thank
like
you.
he will make it sound like a what's his name, the guy that wrote like Newsroom and stuff. His dialogue, just back and forth,
Sorkin?
quick punches.
Did you just compare me to Sorkin?
Some of your
No,
dialogue's
we
like
can't.
that. It
We
just goes
stop
back
the
and forth.
podcast now. That's great. I can live off that the rest of my life.
I forget names, but you know what I'm talking about, yeah. But yeah.
But no, it was good. What I loved about it was that, but also there was this great thing about once we started going, we kind of got attached to characters, and then we
Yeah,
found
that
it
always
easier to
happens.
write for certain characters, and so there were things in say like Julianne that I wasn't like grasping, even though we agreed on what it was, and Adrian would come in, he really bring that out on her, and for me it was Jack.
Yeah.
I really just the whole outsider thing, and I really dug that. And then we kind of shared, and then we were laughing because I inadvertently wrote it like his dad,
Yeah.
and I think I must have been like picking up stuff through osmosis off of him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
So
it was. I'm glad. Yeah, everything it perfectly balanced out. It was really good. I at least for mine, I never felt like I was doing more or less than my share.
yeah,
How
same.
long did it take to do this book? Like all total? Out of curiosity.
Oh man, there's the kicker.
We started at the summer of the height of COVID lockdown.
Oh wow.
But then a lot of stuff happened in between that we took like 6-month breaks and stuff like
Oh wow.
that. So
We kept joking because every time we start up, something bad would happen.
yeah.
Not like just like kind of bad, like oh whatever, but like I mean like some really tragic stuff because I know I lost like both my parents over the course of this. We had COVID. What was it? We had Dustin over at a Father Ground and Geekman. Hey Dustin, he had a big health scare and
Yeah.
we would just step back and take a break, but we never once been like, we should just let's just stop this thing. We joke about how much it's cursed, but we never did joke. We never did stop. We never did.
Yeah,
We had like plenty of excuses to just be like, no, let's just forget it.
I think I made that Jumanji joke. It's like we started it, we have to finish it, or else we just like opened up Pandora's box to hell and bad things are gonna keep happening until we finish it. So
And yeah, and then once we hit that last stride on that last one, that's when everything kind of. I would say like that last third of that book, we did that as a straight run.
I think it was out of pure spite for the universe.
It was just.
Yeah.
Yeah, the universe has had enough of it, so like, they're not going to stop. Just let them do it.
Yeah.
But that's to your credit that you stuck through it and finished it. I mean, that's like I've noticed the things when I write that are like really, really difficult to write. Like after they're done, those seem to be when I look back at them, the things that are like the best. Like I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, totally. I can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, the struggle's like imprinted on it, and it's like a different type of pride. Like I don't even care if anyone reads this. This took 10 years off my life. just
And there's
and the gray hairs, you know. So
plus there's no way that doesn't influence the work as well.
yeah,
Like I know
True.
it's weird, but like all that bad stuff probably made the book better. I don't see how it couldn't because it was just one hardship after another that we were having to endure. And we was like, well, we might as well let's just write another chapter and see if the world falls apart.
What do you two think the appeal of like horror Western fusion is?
For me, it's the survival horror aspect because it's automatically it's limited resources, and I think that puts you in a much more dangerous position. And so once you kind of isolate, because it's all about isolation. Like the best horror stuff is like you got to isolate the group and the thing that's trying to kill them, and that's always the best ones.
Yeah.
So westerns they're made to isolate people because people are already isolated to begin with.
True.
That's
like
my yeah.
I just like that it's a different time, different setting, and there's different things to play with. Because I mean, horror, you're playing with things, trying to make a scene. So it's like, what can you do with? I mean, what we did with the old school jailhouse, you know, in that one scene. What can you do with a railroad? What can you do? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I mean, it's been done before somewhere, but it's different from writing like a modern day horror, like a home invasion or, you know, your typical creature feature, that's not putting it down. I love those and I would like to write them, but yeah, it's just, again, I think it's the historical aspect. I have fun like going, would this work, and having to do a little bit of research and saying, oh man, and then sometimes you actually find out there's something that happened in history pretty close to it because it was a horrific accident or something, you know, building like the Hoover Dam or something, like all the people that died and probably are buried in the concrete and stuff. You're like, oh man, that's worse than actual fiction. The atrocities of you know building in the new frontier, the Wild West. So
you were talking about the jail. You were talking about the jail. I love that scene where Wilson basically turns into goo, crawls through the bars. That is awesome.
Yeah, we did some Cronenberg stuff.
Yeah, that was very definitely. There's body horror in that for sure.
That was also Terminator 2.
Oh,
yeah. A little too small of Terminator 2.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Who came up with the idea for like the bees and the eyeless crows? Like that was exceptionally creepy. I thought
that was
well, and then I'm pretty sure the crow thing was yours. See, that's the beauty of this. Like, there's some stuff like it blurs, and I actually don't remember who wrote what. There's certain things I'm proud of, for sure. But there's certain things that I'm like, I don't remember who wrote this. But the crow, I'm pretty sure you wrote the crow thing.
I did the crow thing. You were the bee thing, though.
But the bee thing I pulled from that's Apache history. That's Apache folklore.
Yeah, is it?
But I mean,
cool.
Yeah.
He started it. He threw that little nugget in there in Hector's first chapter where he pulls the stinger out of his cheek out of the stew.
Yeah.
And I go, if we're gonna do that, sometime later we have to have a crazy killer swarm of bees. You know.
Yeah, I guess that was the I was like, okay, well, we got to do it.
I thought that was particularly creepy. I've been stung quite a few times. I'm not allergic, thank God, but I've been stung enough to know you don't want that. You do not want to be swarmed by bees.
I think it's that's a very tangible fear. It's like paper cuts and stuff. Like most people have been stung by a bee. It's just a very visceral feeling. Everybody knows that. So yeah, having to deal with a swarm of bees and stuff, that's scary.
We were talking about Adrian, your history as a graphic designer. I didn't mention it in my review, but you actually did the cover to this.
Yeah.
And when you put your covers together, what ideas or references do you have in mind when you're designing them? Like, what did you want to convey with it? Because you did a good job. I love the design of the character on there.
Well, I mean, there is like the guidelines you want to follow when making like almost like a commercially successful cover. Big fat title, so you could see it through a thumbnail and all that stuff like that. And then the westerns have a lot of the warm colors, your reds, your deep purples, your oranges, like a sunset type thing. However, the majority of our book takes place in a starless night, so I had to go black with that. And I just wanted, Bo and I were talking about those old pulpy, dime novel western covers.
Yeah,
And
those are so great.
we wanted the characters on there because they are the star of the show.
Mhm.
So it was really just about, developing these characters, what kind of poses they'd be in. And I mean, there was a couple renditions that, during process of writing this, I'd show Bo, and then Bo would sketch up because Bo, sketches up stuff. He'd sketch up ideas, and we kind of melded it all together. And then I just put this one together.
Yeah.
There's the mountain on the cover with the aura around it.
I think that's my favorite part. The aspect of it. It's like it's right there and it's kind of eerie, but you don't notice it right away. But it's totally the mountain line.
That's
the ridge line.
That's actually the silhouette of the actual Superstition Mountains here in Arizona.
Cool.
So
that's really cool.
That.
Is there I know RJ's running this. Is there any way you can get the cover, like show the cover to the audience? I mean, I emailed it. I don't know. You might be able to do that at some point.
If you're watching it and you can't see the cover, just buy it. And then you can see it.
Too. Yeah, that works even better. I love Jack on the cover, by the way. That was my favorite of the figures in the cover.
Yeah, Jack, man.
Very arresting figure.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Okay, let's hop in the DeLorean and go back in time. What kind of kids were each of you growing up, and what led you down the path to being who you are today, like writers that you are?
I'll let Bo go first on that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Isolation.
Yeah.
Oh, Chili Snow Girl. Oh, I know. Hi. I'm glad you showed up. One of my Discord groups.
Oh, cool. But yeah,
Actually,
isolation's always the scariest part. Oh, as a kid, man, I was a middle kid between two sisters. We were 7 years apart, and I lived in a very, very small town. And so I would do a lot of running around the woods. I played by myself all the time. So plus I grew up in the 80s. So
Yeah.
Batman, Ninja Turtles,
Yes.
Star Wars, Voltron, all that stuff. So this
Transformers.
whole thing, Transformers. It's like all that stuff. I was just nursing on, and so I guess at a certain point, I just wanted to I could do something like that. I could tell stories. Telling stories sounds fun because you're doing it with your action figures and stuff anyway.
Yeah,
you're coming up with your own little action, your little stories. So yeah, once I got into school, it was just I figured once they give you it's like, here, you can write and draw. I'm like, okay, what? Yeah, just do whatever you want. Okay. And that's awesome. That's the end of that. That's of course you figure that stuff out. What about you, Medina? What kind of kid were you?
So my dad was from Mexico City. My mom's from the East Coast. She's from DC. They were very young when they had me, and they were still punk kids. I mean, my mom had a mohawk.
Oh, cool.
I have my dad's his studded leather jacket back there that he gave me when I turned 14. I didn't have a bedtime. They like to have house parties. So, I had a bunch of punk aunts and uncles that were over every night. But at the same time, it's its own type of isolation. You're the only little kid. But growing up around that, you were praised for just being creative. You know what I mean? Playing music, drawing, ideas, playing with your toys by yourself. It was just that. But then they got divorced around. I'm an older brother to two little brothers by big log mile, and yeah, just weird. I was a pain in the ass growing up. Let's just say that. By the time I hit 13, I was your average, F authority, never home, drinking with bums under the bridge, you know, that kind of thing, and then settled down about in my early 20s.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just getting random tattoos with friends that, have a tattoo gun, and I look at it and go, well, that's a memory, but I hate that on my body. Stuff like that. But I think that all culminated into how I like to write and do my art now.
I don't know about you, but I also I know I'm older than I don't want to admit it, but like growing up in the '80s, it was of course the VHS age too.
Yeah,
and
I
so
those, yeah.
Obsession with movies, and my mom was, God bless her, movie lover, and she let me watch R-rated movies. So
you can't ask more than that.
yeah, I love her to death. I miss her every day. God bless her. But yeah, she bought me RoboCop for my birthday as a kid. Like, come on,
Yeah.
RoboCop is like the worst movie to get, but she knew I can handle it, and I just yeah. So of course, just absolving all those movies too, it gets in your brain.
Yeah, that sounds like something similar. When I was, let's see, I think it was 9 or something when Terminator 2 came out, and my grandmother raised me, and she bought me the VHS of that when I was like, I think when it came out on VHS, and I was like, but yeah, like you said, like that's like the worst thing you can do. But she never like censored me in any way. Like I could watch whatever movie I wanted, didn't care.
That's good.
Yeah,
none of us turned out to be, well, as far as I know, none of us turned out to be homicidal maniacs.
Just a lot of anxiety. My dad had all the My dad had all the Faces of Death on VHS.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think people knew that we could rent those from like video stores. We could just walk into a store that actively sold. Like, here's some people dying.
My dad had a big horror VHS section, like big horror VHS thing. That was his favorite. Like, I mean, he dressed me up as a Chucky on my first birthday. I was born in '88.
That's awesome.
Just like stuff like that. And I mean, obviously we grew up on Goosebumps and Tales from the Crypt books. And
oh yeah, man.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Face of Death, I think that my parents probably should have put those ones away. Because my mom was like, no, those are all fake, like the fake blood and stuff. Nope. And then we come from the Rotten.com generation as well, so that didn't help either.
I don't know. Those animals look like they're really being skinned alive right now. I don't know. It was pretty real.
Like Cannibal Holocaust. The river turtle.
It's like the blurred lines there. It's like, I don't know what I'm watching. So if I don't know for sure, I'm scared because we didn't have an internet to look it up.
No kidding. Oh,
right.
Yeah. People who weren't raised with like the crummy little mom and pop video stores, like I was, like we had this place called Pacific Video in my town. It was like this hole in the wall video store. I mean, but it was like magic. You just get any weird ass random crap in there, and you don't, like Bo said, no internet, couldn't look it up. All you had was like the cover and what was written on the back. And you look at it and you go, well, I gotta see this.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's even some movies that I, like growing up, like I didn't even watch, but I'm like, they'll say the name and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally remember that cover. I absolutely remember that cover. I saw it 1,000 times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember my first introduction with Tubi too, because I feel like Tubi is just like it's that same vibe. They have like just
the video store vibe, right? Yeah,
much random stuff on there.
But yeah, I remember like when I was like, whenever Hellraiser 3 came out, 92, something like that. And I remember being in that video store, and they had the big the cardboard stand up of Pinhead. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I'd never seen Pinhead before. I didn't know anything about Hellraiser. And I was like, what is that? Like,
Yeah, I think that was my first Hellraiser too. I think I watched that one first. I know that's not probably the best one to go in on, but because it's that's where they start coming up with the really weird Cenobites. But I remember watching them like, this is messed up. This is awesome.
No, that was the first one I saw too. I think it was because that was like the first Americanized one, because the first part one and part two were very, very British.
That's
And that
that's
was
a very good observation. Yeah,
they
they're
had
very British.
yeah, because in the third one it was set in LA. It was very Americanized. It was almost like parts of it were like an action movie. There was car chases, there's shootouts, and it's
Yeah.
like so that one. I think that one was more popular in a certain mass effect. It was more popular with audiences because it was more accessible, I think. To
Yeah.
horror fans, I think part one and part two are like the thing. But to like Joe
But
and Jane average, I
but
think
do
they would
either
know
of those
it's
have a Motorhead song for the soundtrack?
true.
There.
That's right. That's right.
I can hear it now. I should have my mic up like super high for Lemmy, so I can do that.
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking about movies. What specific films or movies like really just impacted you the most as a kid? Like top two or three.
Mm, influential as a youngster, RoboCop for sure. The poster might be visible. Yeah, it's visible. Inframan, which is also my tag. It's been my tag forever. Inframan was that's my favorite childhood movie. I remember like the first time I saw that cover on the VHS shelf, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
And
I
that
know
was like
that
my
feeling.
introduction in the tokusatsu, even though it's Chinese, but the whole tokusatsu thing because it was inspired by that stuff. Top three. Adrian, you start naming some. I'll think about what my third one was. So I'm
My
trying to
favorite
think.
movie growing up was the original Predator.
That is a good one.
Yeah,
You can't argue with that
good.
one.
And then, that was like the golden era of Schwarzenegger sci-fi. A lot of it, Philip K. Dick stuff. So also Total Recall was a big influence on me. I think that's where I just loved that style.
Hmm.
I would say the two biggest movies growing up would be Predator and Total Recall. And both are Arnold, obviously. Man, I don't know.
I'm gonna say I think it's kind of hard because I grew up during
Ace
the whole
Ventura.
thing. Ace Ventura. Yeah.
It was very quotable. It was before memes. You just quoted movies.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
The Mask.
The Mask.
So
I still wish
That's a
they would
good
do I wish they would do the comic version of the movie. But if
like this.
the movie didn't exist, I wouldn't have read the comics.
True. How was that with Men in Black? Men in Black and let's see, there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
bunch of
Malibu.
comic movies that
Mhm.
yeah, there's cool.
Oh, you get have I never seen that?
My wife, when we're done with old comic books that or whatever, so we read the whole Mask, whatever, and she collages these things to hang up on the walls in the office.
that's
but
cool.
This one fell down over here. So
Awesome.
but it's been sitting
That's
there.
cool.
Yeah, I don't
But there's
think
a lot of comic
It's
movies.
awesome.
so many comics.
There was a lot of comic movies people don't even realize are based on comics. Mask was one of them.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even A lot of people don't even know that The Crow was originally based on a comic. I mean,
Yeah, that's a really good one. It's so funny how they keep trying to
Men in
remake
Black.
it. Yeah, Men in Black.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's right. Ninja Turtles.
A lot of people, Road to Perdition. A lot of people don't know that was a comic.
Yeah, that's right. So was History of Violence.
Yeah, History of Violence. Yeah, that was another comic.
Yeah.
For third, I'm going to go at Batman '89. I grew up during that whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people realize like how prevalent. It's not even close to any Marvel movie you've experienced when that got big.
I know. Yeah,
Everything
I
had
was
Batman on it.
Oh my God, I remember they even had Batman cereal. Do you remember that? They even had
Batman
that. I remember
cereal.
I used to buy that
Everywhere.
when that came out.
It was
Because as you said,
everywhere.
people who weren't around then don't realize, because there had been, I mean, there was the Superman movies. They were pretty big, but not as big as Batman. I mean, Batman, I mean, it was like a nuclear bomb just went off, and it was everywhere. It
And the
was like,
marketing team was on top of that. It was everything was branded Batman. You could if you could think of it, pencil cases, headphones,
yeah.
anything you could think of. There was something with a Batman logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
I got one, my third one. It was the first movie my parents took me to when I was like conscious. You know what I'm talking about? Like you can actually remember. And
Right.
there was we went to release night, and I had to be like 3 or 4, and there was a line around the block to get in, and it was the first movie to give me like that sense of awe and wonder. It was the first Jurassic Park. That movie.
Oh, yeah.
See,
I
I'm
love that
envious
movie.
because for whatever reason, I don't know what happened with that. I only ever saw that on home video. I never got to see it in theaters, and I don't know what.
Yeah.
I sincerely do not know what happened.
But like sitting in theater and you're a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid, however old I was, and you're just seeing these dinosaurs, and then that sense of dread when the raptors are chasing them and stuff.
Yeah.
I was obsessed. Then I had a Jurassic Park lunchbox and T-shirts and socks and
I had a T-shirt. I had a Jurassic Park T-shirt. Yeah.
And can we also point out it's a survival horror?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
Yeah.
That's one of those movies that's a horror movie, even though it's not really a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one of those. Like Predator's the same way. It's like, I mean, technically it's like sci-fi. No, seriously, it's a horror film. Aliens, same kind of deal. All right, so this is my favorite part of the show. I call this the lightning round of nerd questions. We've already kind of been sneaking into it by talking about movies and stuff.
I knew it was going to get like this. I just know us.
Yeah.
You're gonna take my notes away.
Basically, I ask a question. It's like free association. I ask a question. You just blurt out the first thing in your mind. First answer you've got. Okay. First one was first one. No, you can go first. You go first, and then Bo can go first.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. First question. First question is all-time favorite movie.
Starship Troopers.
The Matrix.
Ooh.
I count everything The Matrix except for that last one. I'm sorry. I get it, but I count everything, including the games and the comics and all that. I count that as like one cohesive giant story. But I know it's easier just to say The Matrix.
Just the first movie, Starship Troopers, because I love the novels by Heinlein, and I know the book is basically the movie's basically a parody of the books, and there's the whole story behind it. But I just love it, and just the acting. I love both of those. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I love it. Well, the acting, the wooden acting in Starship Troopers, it fits perfectly.
Yes.
It's great.
Because really,
in everything, that's great.
Yeah, that is perfect for that film. That's what I like about it most. Is it's just fun. It's like people that try to dissect it. It means this. It means that. They're trying to put politics into this. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? You know what this movie is really about? About people blowing giant bugs up. Okay, that's what this movie is. Okay.
and Medina, what's your dog's name?
Yeah, Johnny Rico. So.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And he has a bunch of toys. You know what I mean? So yeah.
But I did what Bo says about The Matrix when he considers all 3 movies, like the Animatrix and the comics, everything is one thing. I do that with Back to the Future. Like that's when I say Back to the Future. When I say Back to the Future, I actually mean all 3 movies. Like it's just one thing.
It's like the one. Also, that's the one franchise I can think of. It's just completely unscathed. Nobody's touched it. Mm-hmm. God bless Zemeckis and was it Hale?
Bomb Gale,
they're holding on to the rights, and they're like, "Don't worry, guys, nobody's getting them. We're not going to do anything else."
All right, let's see. All-time favorite horror movie.
Okay, I got mine. Medina's still thinking
in my head. I mean, I gotta say Alien, just for like personal reasons. I know it's not like the scariest or anything, but I mean that had the most impact on like the dread of Alien. So yeah, and I like sci-fi stuff. If there's a sci-fi element to it, I will check it out, regardless of what it is. If you tell me it's in a spaceship, so
it's a good choice. 28 Days Later.
Oh yeah, I know. I remember you liked that movie. That is a good one.
I don't know. It's got the right
That brought
combination of everything to it.
I think what made that, because I remember that was released after there'd been like zombie. I mean, I know it's technically not a zombie film, but I consider it because it's zombie-like. But anyway, there hadn't been a lot of zombie films released, what, for like a decade before that? I mean, they kind of went underground.
I don't
But
think
when that
people
came out-
recognize that there was a big drought for zombie movies.
Yeah.
Now
Probably
it's like super prevalent, but
I'd say after Day of the Dead and Return of the Living Dead came out in like 85, I think there was a big, big gap
yeah,
where zombie movies were very underground, basically direct-to-video kind of thing.
yeah.
And I think because it was a big budget production, and also because of the scenes in London where everything's abandoned, and that brought it to a whole nother level. That, like, even I love Dawn of the Dead, the first Dawn of the Dead. It's probably my favorite horror movie if I were to pick one. But
That's
even
good.
that, it didn't have that scope. Like 28 Days Later had that scope where you see London, boom, major city, empty. Like, never seen that kind of thing before.
Plus, they shot on like those handheld DV cameras, which was like completely new.
Yeah.
And now it so quickly it got outdated, but it maintains a look in that movie that just, there's something about it. The film of that, like, I don't even think they could do like a 4K restoration in that movie because it's digital video.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could clean it up and make it look nice, but you can't you can never like restore it to film quality.
That was actually the very first DVD I ever bought. Was actually 28 Days Later. I still have it.
Yeah, I still got mine. Yeah, hold on to it.
Yeah,
it's still out of print.
But I remember the other thing that impressed me about that film was the first characters you meet. There's Jim, Selena, and Mark, I think his name is. And I thought that was going to be like the trio for the movie. Yeah, 5 minutes later, he's getting hacked up, and I was like, wow, okay. There's no rules here.
Really good. That's the same thing with Alien, though. Alien kind of did this thing. They introduced this idea, and they're not very. That was when a movie. The way they advertised that movie was brilliant because they didn't really tell you anything about that movie. Like, you kind of go in and you're just like, okay, what is this? Space truckers. All right, that's cool. Oh, a robot. Okay, what the hell is this thing? And then it just the way it unfolds. So it's kind of hard. That Alien was very groundbreaking too.
It was Giger. You know what I mean? It was just Giger's aesthetic. It was like, I love it. It's probably my favorite artist. Geiger.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say Giger, but H.R. Giger. And there's just so many things about the development of that movie. Like, the eggs were supposed to look like a vagina, but Fox said no.
Right.
So they had to go in and manually put the extra slits so they opened up for it. Just so many.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the documentary about him, Dark Star, I would watch it. It was made right before he died.
Because that whole movie is just like it's just a scary metaphor for like the fear of rape, which is like
the fear of rape. Yeah.
That's a huge fear. Like, of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Right.
And also, wait a minute, real comment. Dawn of the Dead. I know we didn't talk about that enough. That's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's also one of my favorites as a kid. That's a good, scary, like, isolated survival horror. I love that movie too.
It was between that,
all cuts. It doesn't matter which one.
Or Child's Play. I saw that really young, and that, I mean, if that didn't give you a fear of dolls when you were little, like creepy dolls, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or I could say, the original 2-part It. There's a time there when
it's a mini series.
Yeah, that
It's
scared the bejesus out of us as kids.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And my parents used to
feel better than the. I still like that version better than the Bill Skarsgård version. Like, I like the original one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think they
Tim Curry is scary as hell in that.
They both have their places,
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not discounting it. It's just there's something about that one because there is parts of that movie that I really do like. There's some, I especially like the crawling out of the fridge scene, and like him kind of melting upwards and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I mean, that giant jump scare when he comes out of the projection.
Yeah, that's a good jump. Yeah, that's a good jump.
I saw it in
scare.
theater and I was like, that's not cool. Don't use jump scares on me.
All right. All-time favorite Western movie.
Oh, damn. Fistful of Dollars.
Oh, that's good.
It's unless I'm thinking. Oh no, wait, because I get people on this technicality. Yeah, Fistful of Dollars, but this is technically a Western. No Country for Old Men. It's a
Yeah,
modern Western.
the modern Western. Yeah,
It
yeah.
has all the Western tropes. No Country for Old Men. But just like if you want to get me on the technicality, yeah, no Fistful of Dollars. I love that. And Yojimbo, great movie.
Huh.
It's hard. There's a lot of good. We grew up around a lot of good Western. I think we grew up during like the last hurrah of the Western. I know they keep trying to bring it back, but I think it's more of a TV thing now.
I think the best way they bring it back now is through like hybrids, like horror Western.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be the best way they can bring back like a Western is either that or do something like Django Unchained, where it's like over the top, like super over the top.
So you guys are gonna hate me for this one because it's true though, because I also have a huge collection of this man's movies and stuff. But I'm gonna have to say Shanghai Noon.
That's a Western. It's a comedy Western.
It's a Western.
Yeah.
It's a comedy Western.
A comedy kung fu Western.
I have a Jackie Chan collection. I have over 70 of his DVDs and a bunch of stuff.
Well, hell, if we're including that, then I got to go Back to the Future 3. I mean, that'd be like mine.
Yeah, you know what? It's allowed. Yeah. That's a great Western.
Yeah, it's a Western.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, because I liked the old Zorros.
Oh man, I forgot about the Antonio Banderas Zorro.
Yeah, I like the Antonio Banderas.
That movie's so perfect.
Yeah, that is good.
But I was like, no, it's got to be Shanghai Noon. Like, it's one of those movies I just put on and just.
I get it.
You know, and it does have Western elements.
It's a comedy Western. Yeah, I get it. To you. If
Absolutely.
you said Blazing Saddles, that's still a Western.
Technically, yeah, it is.
So.
All right.
And like Damascus says, it's a good genre mix up.
Yeah. All right. Favorite horror Western movie? Specifically horror Western.
Oh, Tremors. I mentioned it. It's Tremors. I can't.
Oh, man.
Unless I'm just not thinking of something, but Tremors, man.
I mean, I kind of have to go with Bo on that. Like, or I could say Psycho. It takes place in Arizona.
Boy, it's a stretch. No. I might give it to you, but yeah.
No, I love Tremors. I love the whole franchise of Tremors.
Yes.
Grew up on Tremors, and if we're going to count that as a Western, then I'm going to have to say, because it's also a horror Western comedy.
Yeah. Plus, they did make one that was like authentically a Western too. They did the fourth one?
Yeah, I think so.
The fourth one was like actual Old West, where you get to see guidance. That's the word.
So if
perfection.
So if we include that, my favorite horror Western would probably be Ravenous, just because it's just it's this perfect quirky little movie, and I love it. It's just like its own little thing. It sits in its own little universe.
We talked about this before, haven't we, Damascus? Yeah, Ravenous is pretty awesome.
Yeah, the music is like, the music is like totally its own thing. It just sits in its own little perch up there, and it's just, I love it. That'd probably be my favorite horror Western. But if we're including stuff like Tremors, and I actually thought of this when I was writing the review, I was thinking From Dusk Till Dawn, because it's got that same kind of vibe to it. It's a crime film, it's a horror film, but it's also kind of like a Western. And then they did the prequel, which was Hangman's Daughter, which actually was a Western.
So I haven't seen it. It's good. I kind of get scared about some things. It's
pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's worth a watch. The sequel, what was it, Texas Blood Money? That one was, it was okay. But Hangman's Daughter is actually pretty good. Not as good as the first one.
I'll have to say Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah, I mean,
Are
Yeah.
you changing?
I'm drawing
it?
a blank.
Yeah,
I'm drawing a blank thinking, but I mean, you said Tremors, you said Dusk Till Dawn, and I haven't seen too many actual like historical Western horrors.
God,
Not
if
that I
you
can think of top of my
watch
head.
Ravenous, man, that's got to be. Is that on something?
Yes. Yeah. Ravenous. is-
I'm
And
mad
then
that I
there's
don't own it.
Bone Tomahawk. Bone Tomahawk is one. Right?
Oh,
Bone
Bone
Tomahawk.
Tomahawk. Good lord, that's
Yes.
that's a rough movie to watch.
That is good, though.
Yeah.
I haven't been bothered by a kill in a movie in a long time, and everybody, I'm sure people have seen it, know exactly what kill I'm talking about in that movie.
I know the one.
Good
Yeah.
lord, I was like, this bothers me. Wow.
Okay, let's see. Favorite guilty pleasure movie? You know, the one that's not that good, but that you love anyway.
Oh man.
Black Roses.
Boy, that's elaborate on that while I think, man.
Black Roses. It's a. I don't even know who's. There's no one in it really. It's just an old campy horror movie where this band's touring and it comes to this small town and tours, but they all end up being actual demons. And then they're playing at a high school. They're touring, but they're playing at a high school like multiple dates in a row. You know what I mean? And they start like killing their parents, and then they become demons at the end. And it's cheesy, campy fun.
I've heard of this movie,
much,
but I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's very much Satanic Panic era of horror movies. It's just goofy, and there's so many. Like my wife and I just have so many like little bits we play with each other from that movie. You know what I mean? Just like weird things where I make a face at her, and it's some dumb face a character made in that movie. You know, stuff like that. So. Man. It was on Shudder for a little bit. I don't know where you can even. You could probably watch it free on YouTube. I bet you someone just ripped it and put it up there. It's that old. So
I'm gonna. Okay, if I'm really thinking about it, because I know people look back at it as like just a weird kind of 80s. If people have seen it, because it's a very VHS movie. Tough Turf. Anybody know that movie?
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's got James Spader and Robert Downey Jr. It's like they did a kind of street punk version of. It's like they combined Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story into like a very 80s movie. And I've seen it so many times. I own it on Blu-ray. Watched the hell out of it on VHS as a kid. I don't even know why, but I really like that movie. It's just very. I think you can find it. Tough Turf, TUFF.
Okay.
TURF. It's super 80s. If you like dig any like 80s, what's his name's in it? Jim Carroll, is that his name? The singer?
Yeah.
Jim Carroll's actually in the movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
how do I looked it up. I've seen the cover. It's one of those covers I've probably seen 100 times, but I've never
probably
seen it.
Yeah. I can't. It's just if you love anything, if you're just obsessed with the 80s stuff, it's good. Just got that good vibe. But then also just to have like a really cool updated version of Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story. Without the music, obviously, just that whole, troubled youth, but then falls in love with the girl, but you can't be in love with that girl. She's from the nice part of town. And her boyfriend's an asshole.
Oh, the boyfriend's always an asshole.
And the boyfriend's always an asshole.
Uh-huh.
If I had to pick one guilty pleasure movie, it'd probably be Rocky IV, honestly, because that movie's not really that good. But I swear to God, every time that movie's on TV, my ass is in the seat watching it. Like
I recently my significant other Renee, we watched I took her through the Rocky movies, and I was so excited to get to Rocky IV because I hadn't seen it in a while. And she was like, I like Rocky III better. And I'm like, yeah, you're actually right. Rocky III is a better movie.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Rocky IV
that's actually my favorite one. It's a music video.
Yeah.
It's a music video. That's what it is. Okay.
It's a
Rocky IV is a music video with a fight at the end. That's what it is.
but it's so watchable.
I know. So that's probably my favorite guilty pleasure movie. But Rocky 3 is actually my favorite of the series. Like,
Yeah,
it has the best story for me.
yeah.
Okay, five favorite musical performers of all time.
Ooh, that's some good.
Now, are we talking about that we've seen live, or just
Just in general.
that we've seen live that are good performers, or if their music is had a message, or just five
Yeah.
favorite band music? Okay, okay.
Yeah, whatever ones you're just the biggest fans of. Because
Okay.
some of the bands that I like technically are not good bands. Like a lot of
Yeah.
old punk, like first
Yeah,
wave,
that's
first
fine.
generation punk. Yeah,
That's what I
technically
was
not
asking,
very
like,
good, but I love it.
okay.
No, I got that because I think there's a band on my list that's like, people wouldn't. Dog Day is my favorite band. They're a really good band out of I think it's Nova Scotia. Really good. Radiohead. At the Drive-In.
Oh, that's good.
Uh, hmm. And also all the sister bands out of At the Drive-In because I love Sparta and Mars Volta too. I love them both. Jeez, man. There's somebody I'm not thinking of. Interpol? Probably Interpol?
Interpol's good. I like them too.
Especially their
I love
first
their album.
like 3 albums.
Yeah, I love. I think my favorite. I love "Our Love to Admire." I think
That's a good song. Yeah,
that's a good album.
And I'm gonna say Finch. I really like Finch. I know they're like a screamo band and all that, but like if they take the cake for me in terms of that genre, because I wouldn't even consider them screamo, even though they're technically they are, but I really like Finch.
Okay. All right. This is gonna be tough. There's a lot of bands.
Yeah. You're big.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cheat slightly. There's number one spot rotates between three bands constantly. It's either Crass, Zounds, or Rudimentary Peni.
Okay.
Those three old anarcho, depends on how pissed off I am at the world. Is which one's my favorite at the time. That would be one. Two, Blind Guardian. I'm a sucker for old,
that's a good band.
ridiculous
Power metal, man.
Wizards and stuff. Yeah. So, three, just to once again, just the pop punk in me. I love Bad Religion. Love Bad Religion. All Bad Religion, even new Bad Religion. I love Bad Religion. Oh man, this is tough. I love At the Gates.
I love that band. That is one of my favorite metal bands ever, right there.
Yeah. Love At the Gates. Man, this is tough. I also really like Foreigner though.
Man, classic rock.
Yeah, no, I like.
Man.
I'm all looking around like. I love how I have like all my shirts besides the one I'm wearing today are band shirts, and I have billions of things of music everywhere. But when someone asks me about bands, I go, "What do I listen to?"
It's hard. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I know we're all thinking the same thing. Like it's hard to be put on the spot because I know for a fact all of us are heavily influenced by music.
Music, yes.
And we love multi genres of music. We're not stuck on just one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I like ones like
it's hard.
Ahumado Bernujo and Bethlehem from Germany, and there's a band called Merlin from Russia that's pretty good. It's just technical death metal with a female singer, bass player. I don't even know if they're still around. Just like weird, obscure crap. I mean,
yes, I think all three of us are like that. We all love that weird, obscure stuff.
A lot of it's like weird, obscure grindcore, like porno grind and stuff that I don't want to say half the names of their albums or anything because I'm not clean to keep this podcast. So,
Oh, let's see. If I had to go top 5, I think whenever I get in the really, I think I always say KMFDM is like my favorite, just because they
Yeah, I can't even
have
think.
every style, like a lot of different styles of music that I like. They combine it all together. And plus, there's the whole They got the whole angry feel to it, the whole angry political vibe to it. Plus, some of the stuff's just fun. Some of it's dancey, some of it's metal, and some of it's electro. And I just it covers all those. They cover all those bases. Um, but yeah, I'm with you guys. I just like the album I've been listening to the past week has been this Pseudo Echo, this '80s synth pop band. They're the ones that did. Okay, remember in Friday 13th Part 5 where there's the Madonna chick and she's doing like the robot dance in her bedroom before she gets killed?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Pseudo Echo. Yeah, and I
Oh,
was
okay.
like,
I like that song.
yeah, yeah, and I was like, I watched that movie a few weeks ago and I was like, what song is that? So I looked it up and I can't stop listening to the album now. And it's like from
What is it? Is it the
1984.
one
It's
that's
like,
like with death in his eyes? That song?
yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, just like,
That's a great song.
and their band, it sounds like Oingo Boingo and Duran Duran had an orgy, and that album was The Baby. And I was like, I can't stop listening to it. Right? Like, who
Yeah.
else knows that? Like, Pseudo Echo.
That,
The name
that
of the
girl, she had like awesome bands like all on her wall too. I know she had like that,
Yeah,
that
that's
guitarist
right.
from that really awesome guitarist from Flock of Seagulls. I remember clocking
Yeah,
him. I was like,
I
you
got-
didn't
yeah, the
put the
album was-
singer, you put the guitarist.
I gotta
yeah,
ask my wife if she knows that band because she loves Oingo Boingo. She loves Duran Duran.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sam Renee loves
The name of the
Typo
album.
Negative, Ministry, like
Yeah.
all that old gothy pop stuff.
Yeah,
is my
I love that
wife's
stuff.
jam. So I just need to know if she knows who Pseudo Echo is. She's probably like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't
The
play
name of
this with you.
the album was called Autumnal Park. Was the name of that album that song came off of.
Well, I'll have to investigate them because you brought that up. Let's say because I remember liking that song.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. Send it to my wife later. Be like,
Well,
this
see,
is
I'm
jam
like you guys. I love all kind of stuff. I love, Ministry. I love industrial music. I got a Nine Inch Nails shirt on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're going punk, I got to be like, I love all like the weird, obscure punk, like Overkill and I mean, I love Minor Threat, but like I love stuff like Overkill and Decry. I love '80s hardcore. Like I love that kind of stuff.
That's great. I mean, I got
The
Barry
Adolescent.
from your story. Yeah, Reagan Youth from your story is what I got right away
Yeah.
from it. So
Pseudo
I love that
Echo
kind of
did a
stuff.
cut version of Funky Town. I'm reading in the comments. I want to hear that. I know what the first thing I'm going to do when I get off this podcast is
Yeah,
go
yeah.
listen to that.
But yeah, the song that was in Friday 13th Part 5 is called His Eyes. And
Okay.
it's awesome. Okay, favorite TV show all time?
I have no, it's Batman animated series.
That's probably my favorite version of Batman ever.
Yeah,
Actually.
it's very much, and then the whole everything that's spread off of that, the DC animated universe. That's my favorite version of the DC universe. Period. I feel like they nailed it. That's why I don't get my hopes up too high on like DC movies, live action. I'm like, you're not going to top this. So it lowers my expectations.
Ooh, I don't watch a lot of TV. Like I watch like the miniseries and stuff, like on HBO, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I don't know if you count that as TV, but
yeah.
Yeah.
do you want to know the one that's on my TV in the background while I'm working constantly all day?
Sure.
How it's made.
There's nothing that is like insanely digestible. Like it's
It's just,
you're happy.
Yeah. I've seen every episode 1,000 times. No, I would have to say favorite TV show of all time. If we're just gonna go, I mean, I really like Parks and Recs. I like The Office. I like those Office Place, like single cam comedy. You know, or is it multicam?
I never got into Parks and Rec. I feel like I want to actually tackle that one day. But I
Like
did
I
watch
like
The
Community
Office.
as well.
Community's great. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just like those funny, you could just kind of pick it up anywhere in the season and watch it type of shows. Mostly because that's what my wife watches. But other than that, I would have it on, like,
Yeah, if we're going
Secrets
sitcoms,
of
I
the
was actually
Universe,
talking
like some
about it.
random science channel thing where some guy with a deep voice is talking about neutron stars or something. Because usually I just have that in the background. That's what I speak to. So yeah.
I get it. What about you? Come on, you got
Oh.
something good.
My favorite of all time, probably Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I also love
Oh
the
yeah, I
Twilight
forgot.
series.
You're like a huge Buffy
Yeah.
fan. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
bad.
Like-
I've never watched it,
Yeah.
but I completely understand. Like everybody loving that show, I get it.
I guess
Like
if we're gonna go
Supernatural.
old school,
Yeah.
Supernatural,
X
yeah.
Files.
Yeah, yeah.
X Files for me then. If we're gonna go back to
Yeah.
like shows that I actually like nerded over for a
Mhm.
long time, it'd be an X Files. So
X Files, that is some good stuff. I actually got to watch. So here's the weird thing: I got into that show because of the movie. So I've watched from the
Mhm.
movie out up until the final. Although I didn't watch the new show, but I was kind of warned not to. I don't know if anybody can verify that. Like when they
I've
tried to
seen
bring
a
it
show?
back.
Few episodes. I saw a few episodes of it. It was okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
And then I've watched like the first 2 seasons of the old stuff, but then there's like that little gap from like season 2 up until what is it, like season 5 or something, right before the movie.
it
happened.
was after season 5, I think. Yeah,
I
that movie had a
watched
good
that little gap.
soundtrack too. That
Yes,
was the
it
other thing.
did. Absolutely. Thank you for saying it.
I bought that on I bought that on cassette tape when I was like, I don't know how old I was. I was in high school when the movie came out, but I actually bought it on cassette tape. But that was a great soundtrack to
Yeah,
that.
there's good. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, Filter.
Hollywood.
Filter. I should have said Filter. Filter's a good band too, man.
Oh yeah, Short Bus is a great album. I love that.
Filter's big inspiration. Let's
Yes.
throw that. Let's tag it on there. Honorary Filter. Love Filter.
Okay, Hollywood options Devil Dancers for a movie. Who directs and which actors would you love to see in the lead roles?
Oh, I know we've talked about this, but there's still some. That was then, and now it's now, and things are very different because we're done.
Are we gonna go the route of like? Are we gonna go the route of like anyone
man.
or like who's hot right now type of thing?
No, let's do who we actually would sincerely want. Let's put it out in the ethos. Who would we actually want in the movie? Like doing it. Because I don't want The Rock in the movie.
I will say Pedro Pascal would make a good Hector though.
Yeah, for me it was
who's hot right now. You know what I mean? So,
but yeah, I guess he checks off both.
We know he could do that type of acting from The Last of Us and stuff like that. So
I really like for me when I was ever writing Hector and stuff, I always saw the guy. I don't know his name, but he played the professor on Money Heist, that Netflix show. That it was a Spanish show. It was called La Casa de Papel or something like that, in the paper house in Spain. But
oh yes, The Outer Limits was a good show.
Yeah. But I gotta be honest, in terms of the other people, I just saw them as people. It was hard. It'd be hard to cast those people like Jack and them. I don't know.
That would be hard. Johnny Depp could just be Jack. That was a joke.
I see what you did.
That is hard.
Yeah, I mean, Leo said like our movie is like it's like some sort of lost Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez team up.
Yeah.
So let's throw that in the ring. Let's say they co-direct the movie. There's my dream. We'll throw that out there.
There's a grindhouse feel to it.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like Jack and Julian, that's so hard, man. I don't know.
Julian could be like a Mary Elizabeth Winstead type.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. There's just something about it. I think I have like a weird vibe. I would go with unknowns on those people.
Yeah,
probably.
I'd like the unknowns, but I mean, I get from 10 Cloverfield Lane. Mary Elizabeth Winstead in that movie. Kind of that.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah,
The way
I
she
could see that.
acts, I kind of see parts of Julianne in it, like when John Goodman starts going crazy, you know.
Yeah, playing it very apprehensive at first, and then slowly kind of coming out. Ooh, excuse me,
Yeah.
slowly coming out of it and having to just get mentally more stronger about the situation.
Yeah, that's a tough one. This is why I'm not a casting director.
And stuff like yeah, okay. Who did you see? Like, did you see anybody specifically while you were reading it? Because that's fun for us.
I didn't actually. The people I saw with on the cover. That was actually
Oh yeah,
who
I guess
like
I didn't think
envisioned
about that. Yeah,
like that was actually what I pictured, but like an actual actor. Oh man.
So well, good because those people don't exist that are on the cover.
Yeah.
you know what? Really,
I
like
think
it was back in the day, but that Native American actor, I think his name was Lightfoot. He played the Indian in the cupboard.
I met him on a Greyhound bus when I was little.
No,
Really?
whoa, really?
Mm-hmm. He was going to what I don't know. I was little, but he was on one. My parents were on the bus to DC, and I was little, and he was actually wearing a leather jacket, had a mohawk, and I think he had a cigarette with my
so
dad
cool.
and
How
stuff
cool
like
was that
that.
then?
So it was awesome because I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah,
So.
but he was like a really good actor, and it like I'd see him and stuff. It's just he's kind of aged out. He's like he'd be too old to play Jack now. But if I could have him in his prime, I'd be like, let him play Jack.
Yeah.
And there's
also
that era.
Reservation Dogs.
Yeah.
You guys
I hear
watch
that's a
that
good
yet?
show. No, I know of it,
seen,
but I've heard it's good.
I've seen clips and stuff, and then there's that one actor that is always dressed in like the historical garb. You know what I mean? And he's kind of like what's it called? Like looks like they're comic relief in a way. He's in something else, and I can't remember. Oh my god, lose my mind. I'm gonna stop right there. But
I hear it's a good show though.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it, but yeah, I've yet to watch it.
All right. So what's next for Bo Chappell and A.A. Medina?
Romantic comedy.
For real?
No.
No.
Oh, it'd be fun to try. I've always joked with Renee. I was like, I'd really like to try and write a Hallmark movie just to see if I could actually get them to buy it.
Do like a romantic horror comedy. Like that'd be kind of funny.
That's another genre that like they don't do enough of. Like it's kind of an untapped market. But no, we've actually been talking because we've gotten feedback from it too. That only flames the fires, but we've talked about continuing to write about certain characters in the book
without giving spoilers.
Without giving spoilers, and just kind of continuing on with the adventures of certain people.
Excellent. I heard it here first, people.
Yeah.
Spin-off sequel.
Yeah, because we specifically got like one feedback too. There was like we want more of fill in the blank, and we was like, well, we've talked about it.
So, I mean, we've already
any shout out? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you're good.
I was going to say, are there any shout outs either one of you would like to give?
Oh, shout out. Well, we had our acknowledgments and stuff, but like, I feel like just in general, we need to just thank the people that's been reviewing, because not only the people that've actually been reading it and reviewing it, they've been saying just the most insanely. I mean, we're taken aback. Like, wow, we knew we were writing something fun that we loved, and we put a lot of love into it. But just to hear people talk about the book back to us, we're like, oh, thank you, because we wouldn't. Because I mean, I'm not speaking for Adrian, but there was parts where I was like, I hope people really like this book. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of self-doubt writing it from here and there, but I think that's with doing anything.
It's like your children.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird when you're doing it. Usually writing is a very isolated and lonely thing. When you have a writing partner, you can be like, I don't like this, or I think this sucks. And thankfully, even if we had to lie to each other, we'd be like, no, it's awesome. I'm killing it. You know what I mean? Let's keep going. Just like, let's not
Yeah.
get into our own heads about it. If you know what, if you're stuck here, just freaking write a scene that's like 3 chapters away, and we'll just work up to that, and we'll take over from here, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we didn't get into any arguments over the book. We didn't get in any weird hissy fits or anything, or like strong, like, I don't know about this, we should take this out. We really were usually on the same page about everything.
Yeah, which I've been in lots of bands. That usually doesn't happen. You know, so.
So where can people find you guys online?
That's, wait a minute, whoop, camera. There. If you just look for @Infrafan on anything, you can find me. I try to make it the easiest way to find me. But like on Instagram, Blue Sky. Sorry, I left Twitter. Call me crazy. I don't like Nazi stuff in my feed.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Me neither.
Yeah, and then just websites, and yeah, got a little personal website, but yeah, it's mostly Instagram and Blue Sky and stuff.
Same, you could find me there everywhere. You can also go to my design art website, which is fabledbeastdesign.myportfolio.com for stuff.
Yeah. If you want a good book, if you want a book cover, if you see it and you like it, man.
Yes.
Medina does them, and they're all good.
Right. I want to thank you guys for being guests tonight. It was
really seriously. Thank you, dude. Thank you for having fun.
Problem.
It's fun hanging out with you. I need excuses to like hang out with you more. This was great.
Definitely. Absolutely. It was fun talking to both of you, and we look forward to having you back on the show when your next project comes out. Don't forget, everyone, head over to Amazon and check out Devil Dancers. And if you've enjoyed tonight's show, remember, like, share, subscribe to Critical Blast on YouTube. That's it for tonight. The damn show is done. Bye.